Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of videos about games and the people who played them. And now, here are your hosts, Tom and Holly Vasel.
Welcome to the Dice Tower!
Yes, welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vasel. This is my co-host, Holly. And today we want to talk to you a little bit about dexterity games. Now, in the past, I've talked about dexterity games, but I've done so mostly in the context of children. The games I'm going to show you now, they can be played with children, but they're more marketed towards adults. And I have 4 of them I wanted to show you, and let's get and start looking at them.
Go. Okay.
The first game is Moppy, which involves a built-in case where you're simply taking a marble and dropping it into the chute and letting it fall down. Now, what's the point of that? In a sense, it's basically a timer device. See, each player is building a tower. Here's a joint tower that's built. One player plays the light pieces, the other player plays the dark pieces. Now, on your turn, the other player is going to drop the ball in. You must grab a disc of your color and stick it on top, then grab the ball before it goes in that hole and drop it in, and then the next player has to grab a disc of their color and put it on top and grab the ball. The first person to make this tower fall over loses, or the first person to miss the ball. It's very simple, very fun, and very frantic because you're trying to grab that ball before it goes down the hole, and at the same time, quick grab one of your discs and stick it on top. And so, Moppy is a very fun game. It's very difficult for children because of the speed involved, and children tend to work better when they're taking their time, and their little fingers usually beat out adults on these dexterity games. But because this one has speed involved, eventually the tower gets tall, and eventually somebody is going to make a mistake. The next game is Ruckshuck, and basically this is a game of rock balancing based on famous rock formations. At the beginning of the game, each player gets 2 of these bridge stones that they'll be using to build their formations. And then as the game progresses, players are going to be pulling 7 rocks randomly from the bag. Now, these rocks are different colors. These colors denote basically how cubical, I guess, that the stone is. As you can see, the white stones look more like cubes than anything else. The green stones are a little bit more rounded. The blue stones and purple stones, the purple stones are very jagged. So you draw 7 stones, and then everybody is going to be building a formation. Now, if you see in this formation here, it shows that you need to put 2 stones on top of each other, then your bridge, then 2 more stones, then 2 stones on top of that. So I can try to do that, put 2 stones, then my bridge, then 2 stones on top of that, and I already made it fall over. But I'm trying to get as much as I can, and if I'm able to get a white rock on the pile, that's worth 1 point. Blue rocks are worth 2, green 3, purple 4, and then these very difficult orange rocks are worth 5. But if you get certain color rocks in certain positions, you'll get double points. And it shows you on the bottom of the card what the maximum score for that formation is. And basically everyone here is playing against the time, trying to get these together as fast as they can. And they're real rocks. They look really nice, but it's a lot harder than it sounds. Again, I think while it's aimed for adults rather than kids. A very neat game. There's a second version of it out now called Ruckshuck 2. Either one of those would be worth getting. The next game is Climb. Now, Climb is a dexterity game that's different than most. Most of the time in the last 2 games I showed you, they had something to do with stacking. Climb has nothing to do with stacking. In fact, it comes in a very small box. What Climb is it's a game involving dexterity with your fingers. Now, it's supposed to basically emphasize climbing a mountain. Basically you're trying to climb a mountain. So you set a track up above a mountain when you play the game. Let's say this is how you set the mountain up. And here you start at the bottom. And then players will be using a card. Here's the mountain peak that you're trying to get to. And you have to determine how you're going to climb this mountain using your fingers. See, if you look at this card right here, it shows you what finger corresponds with what color. The thumb corresponds with black, the index finger with blue, and so on and so forth. So I put this down, and I'm going to try and climb this mountain. So I start. I'm climbing, And I get points every time I have more than one finger down at the same time. So here I have my fourth finger down with my thumb, and I'm trying to figure out a better way to get up. So I managed to stick my pinky here. I got 3 fingers down at the same time, and now I'll get my middle finger up in this green one. And once you move a card, you've messed up. But basically, you're trying to use your fingers. Now, you can dance up to the top maybe by using one finger at a time. And even that can be kind of difficult depending on what cards you use. There are easier cards with bigger holes. And then there are the much more difficult cards with smaller holes. But basically, you're trying to use these fingers. But the more fingers you have down at one time, the more points you'll gain. But at the same time, the more difficult it is to get up to the top of the mountain. A lot of fun. Small and in a box. Just a very simple little game. But a good dexterity game for adults. The next game is, well, okay, maybe I cheated a little bit by calling this an adult dexterity game, because I'm pretty sure this is marketed at kids. But this is a dexterity game that's just as good for adults as it is for kids, and it's called The Touch. Now, I have an older version of it, which has this big, massive blue thing on the outside, which is a real pain in the neck. The new version looks just like this smaller, well, it's not very small, but looks like this case, and that's it. Basically, each turn of the game, it's one of the players' turn, and they will draw a card, and this card will show them objects that they need to find in here. For example, this one shows a pie and bread and muffins. They then will start this timer up, and they'll stick their hand inside, and they need to find those. So here, Holly, you try. You need to find the pie, the bread, and the muffins. But the thing is, they can only do it using their hand tactile feeling alone. Everyone else is watching, of course, and saying, "Oh, look, is that it? Is that it? No, that's a hamburger." All right, and you can look in there and see what they're grabbing and laugh, because it's really much harder than it sounds. And if the player finishes the card, when the timer runs out, they can get another card, and they can have a lot of fun that way. If you look at these objects in here, they really did an excellent job in picking the objects that are in here. All the objects are really different, although sometimes they're similar enough that when you grab one, you just might think it's the other one. But if you really take your time, none of these feels exactly like the other one. I mean, obviously, there's nothing like the football helmet, but you'd be surprised at how many times you're looking for something. Let's say I'm looking for the garlic here, and how many times your finger passes over it and you miss it, and everyone else is laughing. It's a very fun group-type game, and it's a little big and maybe difficult to store, but I would recommend getting The Touch. So there you have 4 dexterity games, and I think that you would enjoy some of them. Now, for some reason, dexterity games aren't very popular, and they're more difficult to find, and they often go out of print quickly. So if you get a chance to get Moppy, or Ruckshuck, or the small climb game, or The Touch, I would recommend picking them up. Now, do you need to own all 4 of them? Well, maybe not. Maybe sometimes you just want to play a dexterity game here, a dexterity game there. So you say, pick one of the 4. Well, if you have a family, The Touch. If you like stacking things, probably Ruckshuck is your best bet, because Moppy is more about speed. And if you're looking for something small and unusual, well, then Climb would be the choice for you. But they're all great games. Maybe not great, but I guess I should say that they're all very good games. So there you go. Some dexterity games for you. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this is Holly. We'll see you guys next time.
Good. Thank you. I will do this again.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.